Alright class, so this lesson is about factoring trinomials. Trinomials are polynomials that have three terms. Okay, remember, I guess I didn't talk about what a polynomial is. Well, when we're factoring trinomials, we wanted to get two factors with binomials. Okay, what that means is, so we have term 1, this whole thing here, term 2, and term 3, okay? And then we want, when we factor it, we want to have it in, you're going to usually see two sets of parentheses, and then you're going to have a binomials in here, okay? So let's look at how this works. So here, the first example we have is factoring with the leading coefficient of 1. What that means is that whenever we have the x squared or whatever variable squared, you're going to have a leading coefficient of 1. Remember that you won't be able to see the 1, but it's there, right there, okay? All right, so to be able to factor this, what we're going to do here is, I usually start by writing two sets of parentheses, okay? And then I have this x, I just write x because you know x times x is x squared. And then I'm gonna have two numbers here, okay? To find the two different numbers, one number goes here and the other one goes here. I take the number here, the last number, 42, and I start by factoring it out, meaning I'm gonna look for two factors of 42. So let me get my calculator help for that. So in your calculator, if you're watching this at home and you don't have a calculator, just know that you can always go to the library and pick up you can check out a calculator there, okay? Alright, so for us, what we can do here is to find factors, go to y equals in your calculator, go to y equals, and you're going to put the number 42 and you're going to divide it by x, okay, something like this. You're going to go to y equals, you're going to write 42 and you're going to divide it by x. And then we're going to go to the table. To go to the table, you're going to go to second table, and right here. And this is where you'll find a list of all of your factors for 42. So if I see here, I have -7, oops, okay, -7, -6. We have here -6, -7. It's the same thing. I'm not going to write it. This is not going to work, but because it's a decimal, let me go down here. -3, -14 works. -2, -21, and then 1 and 42. I'm not going to write that. 1 and 42. No, I guess I should write it. 1 and +1, +42, 2, 21, 3, 14, and 6 and 7. Okay, so I think I got all of them. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add all of these numbers, okay? Okay, -7, -7 plus -6, I get -13. Okay, and I'm going to check here. Is this number -13? Carry the sign? Yes, it is. Actually, I'm done here. Since I got -13, when I multiply -7 and -6, I get 42. And then when I add these two numbers, I get -13. So these are my numbers, my magic numbers that make this work. -6, -7, -6. Okay, you can switch these two, meaning you can write it as x equals 6 and x minus 6. You can rewrite them like this as well, but this here is fine. Okay, and that's how we find the two factors of a trinomial with a leading coefficient of 1. Okay, so sometimes I like to do it this way, where you can draw a big X, okay, put this number -8 up here, and put this number -7 over here, okay? And then I'm gonna look for my magic numbers, meaning that when they multiply together, give you -8. When you add them together, give you -7, okay? All right, so let's look at -8. We have -8 times +1. -8 times +1 is -8. -8 times +1 gives you -8. That's good. And then -8 plus 1 gives you -7. That's good. So right here, these are my magic numbers. So you have x minus 8. X plus positive means plus 1. Okay. Alright, let's look at, we're looking at 35 and 12, so we need to find two numbers here. Let's see, the factors of 35 are, that 7 times 5 is 35. Let's look at 7 plus 5 now. Does that equal to 12? Yeah, it does. So 7 and 5 work. Okay. Let me do another one. Let me do this one. So we have here -2. And then what is the coefficient here? It's 1. So I can do +2 times 1, +2 times -1 is -2. 2 minus 1 is 1. That works. R plus 2, and then R minus 2. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to move on to the next lesson where we have when we have to factor something that factor with a leading coefficient of any number, not just one. Okay. In other words, what that means is that you will see a number in the front now. Okay. So this whole process is a little different. So let's go through this process. Okay. I have all of the process here. You can read it on your own, but I just want to jump to the examples. Okay. Alright, so when I'm factoring a trinomial, I know that my answer, I want it to look like this. Okay. And then I can't write the x and x because I have this 2 here. So let's just start the process. Alright, so what I'm going to do here is the first step is to I'm going to draw my little x here. But the number up here, I cannot put the -6 like I did in the previous example. The number that goes here is, you have to multiply your 2 times -6 first, which is -12. Okay, that's what I said in step 1. Okay, I did 2 times 15, which is 30. Same thing here. 2 times -6 is -12. And then those two numbers have to add together to give me the -1 here. Okay. Alright, so let's start by looking at factors of -12. So I'm going to go to my calculator. I'm going to put it in my equals. So -12 divided by x. And then I'm going to go to my table and look for factors that add up together to give me -1. Alright, so I have here -4 and 3. -4 plus 3 is, let me check. -4 plus 3 is, -1. That works. So my two numbers I'm going to use are -4 and 3. Alright, so now, when we find these numbers, we just write them down. It doesn't work that way. When you have a number in the front, this kind of makes it a little bit more challenging. So what I'm going to do here is, I'm going to rewrite this as 2x squared, just bring this down, minus 4x plus 3x minus 6. What did I just do? I took the 2x squared, I brought it down, I took the -6 and I brought it down. Okay, and then what I did here was I took the negative, there's a 1 here. The negative 1, I just rewrote it like this. I said, if you look at negative 4 plus 3, that's negative 1, right? We just did that. I just rewrote my equation like this. Okay, I didn't change anything. I just wrote the middle term to look like this. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to make 2 groups. What that means is just put parentheses between the 2 here. So I'm going to group the first 2 together, and I'm going to group the last 2 together. Okay, that's it. Next, what I'm going to do is, after I do that, it says step 4, factor each group separately. So now I'm going to look at this, and I'm going to take out the common factor between these 2. Alright, the common number between 2 and 4, common factor for the numbers is 2, because 2 goes into 2 once, and then 2 goes into 4 twice. Okay, so I'm going to factor that out, and then I'm going to factor out an x here. Take out the x here. So when I factor it out, 2 divided by 2 is 1, x squared divided by x is just 1x, minus 4 divided by 2 is 2, x divided by x, that gets cancelled out. So you just have this here. Now factor out this group, 3 and negative 6. I know that 3 goes into it. So you have 3x, 6 divided by 3 is negative 2. Okay. I'm sorry, I did something wrong here. 3 divided by 3 is 1. Okay, and then you have the x. Okay. And then once you do that, do you notice something? Well, once you do that, you should have the same thing in your parentheses here. Okay, if you didn't, then something went wrong up here. I have 1x minus 2, 1x minus 2. I have the same thing. So with that, what you do is you just rewrite it by itself. 1x is the same thing as x. You can write the 1 if you want, but I'm not going to. And then on this factor, you're going to write the 2x and then the plus 3. Okay? And that's my answer. Let me write it a little better. X minus 2, and then 2x plus 2. Okay. I'm going to do one more example here. So I start by making the big X, and then the number that goes here is this times this goes here. Okay, so 2 times negative 2 is negative 14, and the middle number here is negative 13. Okay, so here's where I need to search for 2 numbers here. Okay, I'm going to go to my calculator, go to y equals, you have negative 14 divided by x, and then I'm going to go to my table. I'm looking for negative 13, meaning they have to add up. Negative 2 plus 7, that's positive 5. Negative 1 plus 14, that's negative 1 plus 14, if you notice, is positive 13. But I want negative 13, which means that if you just switch the signs, negative 14 and 1. If I do negative 14 times 1 plus 1, I get my negative. You have to be careful for the signs. Okay, so I'm gonna start by writing this out. 7x squared minus 14x. Don't forget to write the x here. Okay, you have to write the x. Plus 1x minus 2. Okay, so just write the first number, last number, and then split the middle number. Alright, so now I'm going to make my 2 groups. Group the first 2, group the second 2, and then factor it out. Alright, 7 goes into 7 and 14, and then you have your x here. So that is 7. So x minus 14 divided by 7 is 2. The x gets cancelled out. Here, If there's not a common term between these two, just factor out a 1, okay? Hopefully you get the same thing here. So you have x minus 2 in here, and then 7x plus 1 here, okay? Alright, the next page, I just have a bunch more examples here. But I do want to go through this multiple choice question here, okay? If, just write this down. If it's a multiple choice question, they will have the same graph, okay? What that means is, what I'm going to do, my first step, I'm in y equals, I'm going to plug in my question in my calculator, and then in y1 I'm going to plug it, and then in y2 I'm going to plug in my answer choice, okay? And then the second step would be to look for same graph, okay? Because they will have the same graph if it's a factored form. So I'm going to go to y equals, and I'm going to plug this in. So I have 2, in your calculator you always just have to use this x, okay? X squared, oops, plus x minus 21. And then in y2, just plug in one of your answers. Don't put all of them in at the same time, just put one each at a time. Plus 7 x minus 3. Okay, we're going to graph, just look at your numbers, graph it. Here's the first one, here's the second one. That happened really fast. Let me show you again. Okay, the first it was the blue, second it was the red. Okay, if you're like, oh, I'm not sure, it should the red graph should overlap. If not, you can always go to your table and you shall see like there's, oops, you can see how all the numbers are the same, which means that they're same exact graph. Okay, so it's the answer choice is A. Here's another multiple choice for you to try, and unfortunately this won't happen if you don't have a multiple choice, but don't worry, you're you know, if you have any questions, let me know, okay?